She looks straight into my eyes, her voice cracking slightly, and she tells me the number that she wants me to remember: 43,200. By her own estimate, 43,200 is the number of times she was raped after falling into the hands of human traffickers. Up to 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week for the best part of 4 years. 43,200. So today I'm going to be talking about the prevalence of human trafficking around our globe, as well as in our own neighborhoods. In the words of former President Barack Obama, referring to human trafficking, he says that it ought to concern every person because it is a debasement of our common humanity. Human trafficking is happening to people like you and me, and it doesn't discriminate based on age, race, religion, or gender. Anyone can be a victim, and sadly so many people are, and we just don't even recognize it. That's why it's so important to be informed and aware of the flags that indicate human trafficking so that we can put a stop to this thriving industry. So specifically today, I'm going to be talking about what exactly human trafficking is, those at risk, the impact of the trauma on the victims and survivors, as well as how we can help. So firstly, what exactly is human trafficking? And the TVPA, a federal statute passed into law and signed by Congress in 2000, sets forth a very clear definition of what it is, saying that it's the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitudes, peonage, debt bondage, or slavery. On the basis of that definition given, we can break human trafficking down into three main elements, and the first of those is the act, what is done. Following that is the means, how it's done. And thirdly, it's the purpose, why it's done. Shannon Scott, a forensic nurse examiner of Mary Washington Healthcare, states that human trafficking is estimated to be a $150 billion a year worldwide industry, and that ranks second to drug trade and organized criminal activity. But sadly, it's expected to become number one by the end of 2020, and which we will have data for soon enough. So the second main point I'm going to be talking about is who's at risk for human trafficking. And in simple terms, anyone is at risk. Over 2.4 million men, women, and children are estimated to be trafficked each year, and approximately 27 million are believed to be enslaved today. That's more than twice as many compared to those taken from Africa during the 350-year Atlantic slave trade. And according to CTDC, a global data hub run by various popular organizations, a staggering 40% of children are recruited into human trafficking by their own family members. And I simply say that to convey the fact that while there is no specific profile for human trafficking victims, some factors make some more vulnerable than others. These include familiar neglect, which in turn leads to runaways and homelessness, no education or jobs, sexual or physical abuse, substance abuse or family of substance abusers, poverty, gang involvement, peers or family members involved in commercial sex, those marginalized by race or ethnicity, and the list goes on and on and on. It's important to note that while these are risk factors, really no one is safe from human trafficking. It can happen to anyone merely by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So the third main point I'm going to be talking about is the impact of the trauma on victims and survivors. Ms. Andrea Griffin, a senior director of the Neighborhood House Association's Project and Reach programs, writes that survivors experience severe and long-lasting health consequences due to the trauma that they have to endure. They encounter high rates of physical and sexual violence, including homicide and torture, psychological abuse, as well as horrific and unsanitary conditions, and more. This leads to significantly high rates of depression, anxiety, self-injurious behavior, suicide ideation, and even suicide, drug and alcohol addiction, PTSD, complex PTSD, as well as dissociative disorders. Many also face multiple stressors, including, as they leave the situation, financial and housing insecurities, legal concerns, isolation from loved ones and communities, as well as limited opportunities to improve their future prospects. So you can see that the impact of human trafficking doesn't end as soon as they exit the situation. Rather, these effects last a lifetime. So the fourth and final main point that I'm going to be talking about is how we can help. Firstly, we can help by recognizing indicators, and these include behavioral, physical, and environmental indicators, such as if a person's disoriented or confused or showing signs of physical or mental abuse, if the person appears to be coached on what to say, or if the person lacks or appears to lack personal possessions, or appears to not have a stable living situation. So apart from this, there are many actions that you can take, including engaging in advocacy and building awareness by becoming well-informed. You can also be a voice, and you can do that by participating in or even sponsoring an event. And I'm sure many of you have heard of the movement called Dresscember, which takes place every December. And it's a movement created to equip advocates to fight against this reality. Since 2013, the Dresscember movement has raised over $11 million, and as of yesterday, the campaign update for this year alone was at $2 million. This money goes towards preventing, intervention, as well as protection, which allows for comprehensive care. So in conclusion, today I have talked about what human trafficking is, those vulnerable or at risk for the striving industry, the impact of the trauma on the victims and survivors, as well as what we can do to help put a stop to this horrifying reality. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery, and it's affecting millions of lives. 43,200. This shouldn't be one more person's story, but sadly in the time that you spent listening to this speech, it did. If you or someone you know is a victim of human trafficking, you should call the national hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text help or info to 233-733. Thank you.